progress nila. Reflection. It is the process embedded in teaching where the teacher requires into his or her action and provides deep critical thinking. Reflection is a basic part of teaching and learning. It is making sure that learner has achieved the maximum progress. Next po, learning as a process in curriculum. Learning is usually defined as a change in an individual's behavior caused by experience or self-activity. It implies that learning can only happen through the individual's activity of his or her doing. Meron po tayong mga principal types of learning theories. The first one is behavioral learning theories. It emphasizes observable behavior such as new skills, knowledge, or attitudes which can be demonstrated. These forms of behavior are observable and measurable. Sa behavioral learning theories po, ang mga nag-contribute po dyan, yung si Ivan Pavlov's classical conditioning theory, Edward Thorndike's law of learning, and B.F. Skinner's operant conditioning. I will no longer further discuss those theories kasi po, kung natatandaan niyo pa po yung report ni Miss Red, na-explain naman po niya ng malinaw kasi sa akin po natatandaan ko pa siya na ang ganda-ganda ng pagkaka-report niya doon. Madali pong intindihin kung ano po yung mga theory na nai-contribute nila. Basta po sa behavioral learning theory, nagse-set muna ng mood para po ma-achieve yung gusto nating outcome. Kagaya nung kay Thorndike, di ba, yung law of readiness, exercise, and effect, yung mga example po nila doon. The second one is cognitive learning theory. Are concerned with the human learning in which unobservable mental processes are used to learn and remember new information or acquire skills. Related to this theory is the concept of meaningful learning theory through cognitive models. Ang mga nag-contribute po dito is si Jerome Bruner, doon po sa 3 kinds of representation niya. Kagaya po ng enactive representation, based on action siya. Sinasabi po niya na pag yung 0 to 1 year old, matututo siya based on action. Kagaya po, di ba, halimbawa, sa age range na yun, tinuturuan mo yung bata na mag-close open. Tinuturuan mo siya through action. Ginagawa mo, ipinapakita mo sa kanya. Doon siya natututo. The second representation is the iconic representation based on image. Ito po yung magpi-preschool na yung bata. Di ba pag po preschool, more on drawing sila? Kumbaga, nagkakaroon sila ng learning through the images na sinushow po sa kanila. Third, yung symbolic representation based on language. Ina-apply po ito sa 7 years old and above. Halimbawa po, kasi pag 7 years old and above na siya, sasabuhay na niya kung ano yung halimbawa sinabi mo sa kanya, yung sounds ng ambulance, na i-imagine na niya, kumbaga meron na siyang, nade-develop na niya sa mind niya, kung ano yung sinasabi mo sa kanya. Ang isa pa pong nag-contribute sa cognitive learning theory is si David Ausubel. siya po ang ano niya, yung meaningful learning theory, students are considered to be the center of teaching learning process and the teachers are the facilitators. Parang yung process po ng education natin ngayon, more on sa participation na po ng students, nagga-guide na lang si teachers. Nagga-guide na lang si teacher. The last one is si Robert Gagni. Meron po siyang in-identify na 5 learning major categories of learning. Yung first, verbal information. Second, intellectual skills. Third, cognitive strategies. Fourth, motor skills. And the fifth is attitude. To summarize po, yung mga contribution dito sa theory na to, yung learning po ng estudyante is involved their conscious intellectual activity such as thinking, reasoning, and remembering. That's all po. Ito po yung activity question po natin sa activity 14.
Okay, well done, Miss Pablo. Do not turn off the PPT. Just present again the diagram pertaining to feedback and reflections. Ayan. Okay, so the report of Miss Pablo, no, was very clear to us as starter or as beginners, when it comes to teaching and learning process. So the gist of what she said has something to do with the teaching learning process. So we've been exposed from this process, or with this process, the teaching learning process. So in order for the teaching learning process to take place, she highlighted 3 of the important aspects. Meron tayong plan, implement, and evaluate. So this is a very simple diagram that can give us an idea on the process. And then you will be noticing, or you will notice that in each components, in each component, I mean, meron tayong feedback and reflection. To make it simple, as we revisit as we revive our attention with regards to this 3, the planning stage has something to do with the objectives formulation and the desired outcomes that we would like to happen at the end of our instruction. These desired outcomes are rooted from the standards that are stated in our curriculum. So laging yan yung ating reference point, the learning standards or learning objectives that could be content, standards, performance, or learning competencies. So in planning also, we consider the learners. Sabi nga kanina, we revisit or we assess our learner styles, learners' needs, basically. Also the instructional materials, if these are available. We also consider the suitability of the choice instructional pedagogies, the methods and styles to teaching. So yon, sa planning, kino-consider natin yon. You have these feedbacks, Paano nagkakaroon ng feedbacks? Later, Later yan natin. So the arrow pointing to implement would mean that as we already finished or rather prepared for our plan, we are now ready to implement. The implementation, sabi nga, is the actual setting of the process. which we expect that this is the time wherein the teachers are using all the parameters to instruction or in instruction. These parameters includes the pedagogies to teaching, the strategies, the materials, yung mga tinatawag nating ingredients in the implementation process. So implementation yon. So that is the actual, no? Then obviously once we finish implementing all those activities that we were expecting, we are now ready to evaluate. The purpose of evaluation is to make sound judgment whether the plan was met, whether the objectives are accomplished at the end of your instruction. Now, each of the component has interconnection with feedback and reflection. The evaluation is the result of evaluation will lead us to another plan. Kaya meron po siyang arrow pointing to the direction of plan. So also, the plan is connected to evaluation. Kaya po dyan may feedback and reflection. So we can use evaluation to make some reflection out of our instruction to give feedback to the plan that was prepared or that was planned. In similar case, we can also use the result of evaluation to make feedback to what we did in the implementation part. Is there any improvement happened once we use that instructional pedagogy or materials or anything that could help our instruction effective? So is the implementation rather is the what I mean is the strategy, no, or simply mga materials na ginamit natin enough, no, to make our process or teaching learning process a success, no? Kaya tayo merong ganyang linkage. Okay? Okay po. So that is the teaching process. Kaya siya never-ending process din yan, cyclical, no? Wherein meron tayong plan and then at the end of the plan, may evaluate. The evaluate could also give us for another planning stage. Then, binanggit niya yung learning process in curriculum. And we've been citing these two, behavioral learning theories, which were crafted by different educational psychologists, the fountainheads, the fountainheads of education. Andyan si Ivan Pavlov's classical conditioning, si Thorndike, laws of learning, nabanggit na rin kanina, Skinner's operant conditioning, and so on and so forth. So, ang ano naman yan is to give emphasis on the observable behavior and the new skills and knowledge that will be acquired. I do agree with her also that in terms of cognitive learning theory, the most relevant name in this theory is Jean Piaget. Kung kilala nyo si Jean Piaget in child and adolescent psychology, he is the one that I've been mentioning in this cognitive learning theory because this theory is relevant in terms of the cognitive developmental process of learners. Yung merong sensory motor, yung pre-operational, operational, and concrete operational. Kung na-touch nyo na yan sa child and adolescent psychology. That's why when we teach our learners, we consider the capacity of these learners to acquire such skill or information. If the learner is just with age from 0 to 3 years old, what will be our expectations, from these learners? We always consider the age, of these learners, and of course the cognitive level nila. Aside from we know that meron tayong level of cognitive domains, meron din tayong theory about this cognitive learning, no? Yung edad, ano ba yung expect natin kapag ang learner ay 16 years old na? So we consider the kind of instructional programming intended for these learners. Kasi marunong na sila sa abstract kapag age na ganong 16 and above. Or hindi lang 16 actually, mga 12 years old na yan, they are expected to have abstract reasoning. So the importance of having this theories will give educators an idea on the suitability of the learning process, suitability of the teaching and learning process, the materials, the instructional materials, the instructional strategies. So if we are informed about this theory, we'll be having a better way for us to plan and do the process. Understanding the kind of learners is definitely important, definitely crucial for the teaching learning process. Kaya po inaalam natin yung mga theories na yan that are vital for the execution of our teaching learning process. Kailangan alam po natin yan. Hindi lang na tulad sa grade 1, di ba? There are difficulties aside from the genetic makeup of the learners. Alam natin na the genes also speak with the learning abilities of the learners. May contribution nung na-inherit niyang genes sa parents. So of course, in nurturing our learners, the environment is really a factor. So kailangan i-consider natin yung mga factor na yan in the child and development, for the child learning development. So it is vital, lalo na yung cognitive learning development. Kaya yung grade 1 learner, hindi makasulat, hindi makabasa, kasi nga yung acquisition of learning, yung level nila, hindi fit pa doon sa edad nila. That's why it is very important to know as educators, we should know all these theories of learning, the different theories for child and development, for child and learning development. So kailangan alam natin yan. Okay, thank you so much, Miss Albi, for comprehensive discussion on teaching learning process. Okay po, did I make it clear for the teaching learning process?
Yes, yes po.
Catch up naman yung additional information, okay, with regards to Miss Albi Pablo's report. Okay, at this juncture, we'll be proceeding now to the activity number 15, which pertains to learning as a process in curriculum. Ito yung and also we have some ways of doing teaching and learning. Sino po ang ating in charge here?
Ako po, Sir Jessa Blas po.
Si Jessa. Ito yung
po, sir,
21st century educator.
Sir, mag-present na po ako, sir.
Okay po.
Saan na ba? Nakikita niyo na po.
Hindi pa po.
Ay, bakit ganun? Sige, saglit
Screen
lang po.
niya lang po, ma'am.
Ulitin ko lang.
Yes, yes ma'am. Ang gagawin mo doon, i-minimize mo yung ano, para makita yung PowerPoint mo, yung screen. Ay, kaya lang tinanggal mo na yan. Ayan. Ayan, nakikita na po.
Okay, nakikita na po. Ayan, sir. Okay na po?
Violet na Violet. Favorite niya ang Violet.
Yes.
Ano?
Ayan, sir. Good afternoon. Kikay na kikay, girl. Ano, sir?
Sige, good
Okay.
afternoon.
Good afternoon po sa ating lahat. Good afternoon, classmates. Good afternoon, sir. I am Jessa Blas. So, I will be, my topic for activity title for today is Teaching, Learning, Process, Curriculum Development. And my topic is about the continuation of the report of Miss Ivy, the learning as a process in curriculum and some ways of doing teaching and learning. So, let's start na po. So, Miss Ivy have discussed about the behavioral and learning theories, behavioral learning theories and cognitive learning theory. So now I'll be reporting about the reception learning theory. So actually, ang buo dito is meaningful reception learning. So this reception learning was proposed by David Ausubel, an American psychologist. Sabi niya, despite the learner's innate curiosity, they still need external motivation to learn. So sabi niya, though innate ang curiosity ng mga estudyante, ng mga kabataan, they still need external motivation to know the importance and relevance of the information into their life learning. So, for example, nakakita ang, for example lang, alam ng bata yung subject na ball. Pero hindi naman niya alam kung ano ba yung, saan ba ito ginagamit, kung ano ba ang mga klase ng ball. So yung mga ganon. Next po, o kaya naman po, for example, nakita nila, alam nila, kilala nila si Rizal as our national hero, pero alam ba nila ang significance and contributions ni Rizal sa bansa kung bakit naging national hero siya? Hindi pa. So, as a teacher, we need to motivate them to stimulate their mind and gain their attention for meaningful learning to take place. So, Ausubel also stresses the importance of a learner's prior knowledge in order to learn new things and keep up with the continuous changes of his or her knowledge once these are in her mind. Ayun. So, it is important po that prior knowledge can be anchored to their newly acquired information. Katulad nga po ng sinabi ko. Noon, kilala nila si Rizal as national hero. Then, as a teacher, ay, hello po.
Naka-full screen.
Ay, sorry. Ay, hindi pala
Hindi po naka-full screen.
Okay. Sige po, ayan. Ayan, thank you po. Ayan. So, ayun nga po, to continue po. It is important na yung prior knowledge ng isang bata can be anchored to their newly acquired information. So, katulad po nung sinabi ko na kilala nila si Rizal as our national hero. Kasi for sure naman yung mga bata ngayon alam yan. Pero alam ba nila, tawag dito, alam ba nila, ngayon as a teacher, ituturo mo naman ngayon kung bakit at paano nga ba itong si Jose Rizal ay naging national hero. Then, this will result now to a meaningful learning and it will continue to change and improve the more they encounter the same topic. Kasi for sure as their life goes on, they will eventually encounter the same situation or the same subject or lesson. Tama po ba? Bakit nga ba sinabi natin na meaningful ang learning? When we say meaningful, it involves understanding on how all the pieces of an entire concept fits together. So parang sa pagluluto lang, no? Pagluluto lang ng isang dish, no? Para makabuo ka ng isang mouth-watering dish, okay, yung mga fit na sangkap doon yung pagsasama-samahin mo. For example, magluluto ka ng adobo, hindi pwedeng isangkap mo sa kanya is tawag dito, ketchup or kung ano man, di ba po? Hindi ka makakabuo ng masarap na adobo kung hindi fit yung mga sangkap nito. Okay po ba? Naiintindihan po? Pasensya na po, kinakabahan ako. Ayan. So, yes. Another example po, yung katulad nga po nung example ko kanina about kay Rizal. Paano mo mamomotivate yung estudyante mo at paano nga ba ma-anchor yung prior knowledge nila sa new learning. So, for example, you read a text about Rizal, but before reading, you show a picture of Rizal and then ask them kung kilala ba nila yung picture na yon, and then kung ano ba yung alam nila tungkol kay Rizal, and ano pa yung gusto nilang malaman tungkol kay Rizal. It's just the basic reading, but it's also the basis of meaningful reception learning. We show a picture of to activate what learners already know about the topic so that they can attach the new knowledge to their already existing knowledge. So, ayun po. Next po, si Ausubel also proposed what we call advanced organizer. So this is information presented by an instructor that helps students organize new incoming information. So sa atin po, nung nag-aaral tayo, naka-encounter na po ba tayo ng ganitong kind of organizer?
Yes po.
Yes, thank you po. Ayan. Thank you, sir.
Ako pa sumagot.
Opo.
Na-encounter yan.
Opo. This advanced organizer po, so it makes it easier to learn new material of complex or otherwise difficult nature. So ayun, yung mga komplikadong topic or topic or lesson, mas napapadali niya through this advanced organizer. Okay, next po. Yan. So, punta na po tayo dito sa 9 events of learning by Robert Gagne. So, si Robert Gagne is an educational psychologist who created the 9 steps or process called the events of instruction. So, it is a step-by-step approach that can help teachers structure their training so that their students get the most from their learning opportunities. So, when each step is completed, learners are more likely to be engaged and retain the information or skills being taught. So, these 9 events of learning, so chinang ko po siya into 3 segments. So, dinivide ko siya into 3 segments. We have the number 1, preparation, instruction and practice, and assessment and transfer. So, under preparation, we have number 1 is getting attention or the reception. So, siguro dito papasok yung yung readiness ng estudyante. Sabi nga, the student will not be able to learn if he's not physically or mentally ready. So, as a teacher, we shall ensure that learners are motivated to learn and participate in tasks through establishing their attention. So, paano nga ba? So, ito na po, nag-cite na po ako ng mga examples on how to do this. We can use the tone of our voice. So, for sure, may na-encounter na kayo, nag-aaral kayo, na yung isang teacher talaga naman, magsalita pa lang siya, sabihin pa lang niya, students, parang may impact na sa estudyante. Parang ikaw, ano ka na, tatahimik ka na, then, mag-focus ka na. Next is showing a short video presentation. Ito, gustong-gusto to ng mga estudyante, lalo na ng mga bata. And then, present a thought-provoking question. So, yon. Next po, Under preparation pa rin po, we have informing learners of the objective or the expectancy. So, teachers shall ensure that learners are informed of what they need to learn and why they need to learn such information. So, this is very important na alam natin kung ano yung direction na pupuntahan natin sa sa topic natin. So, paano, dapat ilatag mo sa kanila yung mga ina-expect mo at ganun pa man yung mga matututunan nila. So, papaano? Describing what they can do at the completion of the session, describing of the required performance, kung ano yung mga dapat nilang gawin, and then explaining how their learning will benefit them. Yan. Siyempre, lahat naman na itinuturo natin, magbe-benefit talaga yung estudyante. Kailangan lang nila na malaman kung ano yung mga benefit na makukuha nila. Next po is stimulating recall of prior learning or retrieval. Teacher shall help the learners make sense of new information. He or she may relate them to prior knowledge or present a cue that would stimulate their previous learning. Previous learned information, sorry. So, katulad din ng ginawa natin kanina, no? In-stimulate natin yung mind ng mga bata by showing a picture or asking them if napag-aralan na ba nila ito, na ano ba yung natutunan nila, o ano ba yung alam nila tungkol sa mga bagay na ituturo natin sa kanila. So, andito na nga yung mga, by this, may establish, malalaman mo kung ano nga ba yung mga natutunan ng mga estudyante mo noong, yung mga prior learning pala ng mga estudyante mo. And then, ito po yung example, giving an example po ito of an experience similar to what they are learning, asking if they have previous experiences with the topic, and asking about their understanding to the previous concepts. Next po, pupunta na po tayo sa instruction and practice. So, under instruction and practice, we have presenting the stimulus or selective perception. So, dito na po papasok yung do the teaching method. So, the teacher must present new information using effective learning strategies and efficient instructions. So, papaano? By providing examples. Kasi ang mga bata, kahit naman tayo, natututo tayo sa mga pag nagbibigay ng examples yung mga teachers natin, di ba? Kasi tayo, nakakaisip din tayo ng similar things katulad ng binigay niyang examples. And then, next, chunking information. Katulad to nung ginawa ko na to, na divide ko po itong 9 events into 3 segments para mas madali ko siyang malaman na ito palang number 4 na ito is under instruction and practice. Diba yun? Parang ganon. Then, making use of illustrations and visual aids, which is very gamit na gamit po, lalo na noong kapanahonan pa natin, na ang teacher talaga for learning to take place at para mas mag-engage yung mga bata is magpapakita sila ng mga illustrations and visual aids. Yan, para mas madagdagan yung learning ng mga bata. Okay po. Number 5, providing learning guidance or semantic encoding. The teacher shall offer guidance in learning through coaching. He or she may also use cues, hints, or prompts to help them understand and remember what they are learning. So, as teacher, coach din tayo. We help our students understand, or we guide our students kung paano ba nila mas maiintindihan or mas matututunan in easier way yung mga topic or lesson na ipinupukol natin sa kanila. So, paano nga ba natin sila matutulungan? By using mnemonics to cue and prompt learning. So, pwede po ba ako makahingi sa inyo na example ng mnemonics na madalas niyong ginagamit noong nag-aaral kayo? Ay, sorry po. Ay, may nagtaas pa. Sorry, hindi ko po nakikita.
Ako po, ma'am, yung sa cranial nerve, sa mga nerves, yung OOO to touch and feel the nerve by China. So,
opo, yan. Nurse nga po pala si Ma'am Nerlisa. Yes. Opo. Meron pa po. Yes po. Sige po.
Yeah,
Ma'am,
Rosemary.
Yes, ma'am.
i-dial
Sige,
ba
ma'am.
ko lang po sa elementary po pag
Opo.
yung mnemonics po ng solar system natin tinuro po sa
Opo.
amin. Yung Mang Victor Espinosa. Pag laging sa umaga na pumayat. yun po yung yun po yung tinuro po sa amin nung science teacher po namin ng grade 5.
Di ba po? Mas
Tama
na-retain
yan.
mas na-retain sa information, sa isip nyo yung mga bagay na yun. Kasi nakatulong ito sa inyo na matutunan yung, kumbaga, nakatulong ito para mas matutunan nyo yung inaral nyo dati. Na-retain pa sa isip niyo. Tingnan nyo hanggang ngayon na-retrieve nyo siya.
Yep.
Then,
in inclusion to their sample, I used to let my students to follow this mnemonics. In science, for instance, the periodic table of elements are really quite complex, isn't it? In terms of memorizing the noble gas, if you are familiar with the noble gases, I used to let them remember hiner kasi radon. So I use the acronyms so that they will be able to remember easily helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, radon without kasi hiner kasi radon. So using that acronym mnemonics, they will be able to remember the sequencing of these elements from top to bottom of the periodic table. That is one of the best way that they can easily remember that gases or noble gases in the periodic table. And that's really good semantic encoding, yung mga mnemonics na yan, especially when we are taking examinations, no? I remember myself in college, I am always discouraged about the type of test being administered by my TLE teacher kasi enumeration siya. So my practice there is to tawag dito, to make an acronym that I will be able to remember the sequencing of the yung mga list. 'Di ba sa TLE may mga menu na 'yan? 'Di ba step by step kailangan alam mo. So yun ang tatandaan ko nung college. So in my practice of teaching, I always let them do that mnemonics kasi it depends on us as learners, no? Also in board exam, very useful yung mga mnemonics na yan, especially in computation or yung mga operations in math. So formula, paano matatandaan yung bulky formulas to remember? So ang ginagawa, I used to have cutouts, and then I write down that formula in the cutouts, and then ipi-place mo sa malapit sa mirror. So para kapag nagsasalamin ka, kahit papano, ma-recall mo yung formula that were written. Or yung iba naman, ilalagay nila sa ceiling ng kanilang kwarto as part of their recognizing all those formulae. So it depends upon. Yung iba nag-highlighter sa book, no? Okay, sige.
Yes. So thank you, sir. Opo. Thank you, sir, for the inclusions. Then po, we have the role playing for visualization of application. So as teachers, yung tinuturo natin, syempre, we must know how to demonstrate them. No, para at least makita ng mga bata kung paano ba talaga gawin yung skills or yung kailangan na gawin nila for the evaluation. Next is the use of analogies to help knowledge construction. So these analogies, for example, yung brother is to boy, ganyan. As sister is to girl, trees is to fruit, as mother is to baby. Ayan, ganyan yung example of analogies will enhance comprehension, attention to detail, vocabulary, synonym, and antonym, and even logic reasoning ng mga bata. Yes, next po. under pa rin po ng instruction and practice is eliciting performance or responding. So, teachers shall allow learners to apply their newly acquired learning or knowledge. This allows them to internalize what they have learned. So, dito, we should let students internalize and apply what they have learned. Para nang sa ganun, during the process pa lang, during the instruction and practice pa lang, malalaman na natin kung ano pa ba yung dapat nating isupplement dun sa learning nila. So, paano ba? Have the learner demonstrate practicing skills. Yan. Have the learner apply knowledge to a scenario and ask questions so that they can show their knowledge. So, nangyayari naman talaga ito within or during our instruction na nagko-question and answer tayo para malaman natin if they are learning dun sa tinuturo natin, and even demonstration and applying into a scenario. Next, instruction and practice pa rin po is providing feedback or reinforcement. So, teachers shall provide immediate feedback to learners after they have demonstrated their learned skills. Ay, sorry, mali po skills ko. Okay, this is very important po, especially sa mga student, to provide feedback and reinforcement. Pag sinabi mo kasing reinforcement, hindi, it is something that you can add para mas ma-improve yung skills nila. Hindi mo, for example, yung isang bata nakakuha siya ng mataas na grades, and then provide feedback. O kaya naman yung isang bata, mababa yung grades niya na nakuha, provide reinforcement na sabihin mo sa kanya kung ano yung dapat niyang gawin para mas mag-improve yung performance niya or yung grades niya without hurting the feelings of the student. Hindi mo kailangang sabihin sa kanya na mahina ka, mag-aral kang mabuti. Ganun. Mag-reinforce ka, positive reinforcement. And then, tawag dito. So, paano po ba yun gagawin? So, be positive. Yun nga yung katulad ng sinabi ko, kung yung estudyante mo nakakuha ng magandang grades, then praise your student. Mag-provide ka ng positive feedback. Kung hindi naman siya nakakuha ng mataas na grades, mababa nga yung grades niya, reinforce mo siya. Okay? Parang nasa positive side ka pa rin. Then, be objective and precise. Kung ano yung kailangan niyang baguhin, direct to the point mo. Huwag mo nang paligoy-ligoy pa. Pero in a way na hindi naman siya ma-hurt or hindi masasaktan yung feelings niya. Kasi saying negative things to a student it will affect them psychologically, mentally, and emotionally. So, iiwasan po natin yun. Next po is use first-hand observation. Kung ano yung nakita mo, yun yung doon ka mag-provide ng feedback. Huwag doon sa kung ano yung sinabi sa'yo ng mga classmates niya o yung hindi mo naman nakita. Next, focus on what the learners can do. May mga estudyante na hindi naman talaga katulad ng ibang estudyante na magagaling or maganda ang performance. So dito, pwede ka talagang mag-provide ng reinforcement sa kanya. And mag-focus ka dun sa kaya niyang gawin. And if kaya talaga, if kaya mo, is they improve, yung ganun po. Pero wag mo nang sasabihin pa sa kanya kung yung mga kakulangan niya. Focus ka doon sa kung ano yung mga kaya niyang gawin. Next po, on the 3 segments, we have the assessment and transfer. So, and we have assessing performance or retrieval. So, dito na po papasok yung evaluation. So, teacher shall administer a test to the learner to determine if the expected learning outcomes have been achieved. So, dito na po papasok yung written test or oral questioning, short questionnaires or essays, and other measurement tools to show that they've learned the material. Sorry po. Ayan. Okay, to show that they have learned the material or skill effectively. So, ito. Okay. Ito, maano naman po, no? Madali naman din po itong intindihin kasi lagi naman tong talagang kasama sa isang sa learning natin, yung pag-retrieve ng mga napag-aralan natin and ma-determine whether we learned from the lesson na binato sa atin ng teacher natin. So, lagi naman tayo mayroong written test, oral questioning, and some other measurement na magagamit para malaman if natuto ba tayo. And last po is the assessment and transfer. So, dito, enhancing retention and transfer or generalization. So, teachers shall provide resources that will enhance retention and internalization of knowledge with the learners. Repeated practice and feedback is the best way to ensure this. So ayan. So, dito, hindi tayo natatapos doon sa evaluation. Kailangan malaman pa rin natin if this learning ay na-apply ba or nare-retain ba sa isip ng mga estudyante natin. So, and tawag dito, parang maganda rin na malaman natin if this skill or knowledge ba ay kaya niyang i-apply into other situation. For example, you were able to take guitar lesson before dati. Now, you want to take naman the piano lesson. So, marunong ka na mag-guitar. Ngayon, gusto mo naman mag-piano lesson. So, dahil marunong ka mag-guitar, you know the key. Yung key ng gitara. Parang ganun din kasi sa piano. So, yung natutunan mong learning doon sa mga keys ng gitara, i-apply mo ngayon dito sa sa piano lesson na ito. So ayun po, importante pa rin na repeated practice. As a teacher, you have to give your student opportunity to practice po yung mga natutunan nila and apply it para mas ma-retain sa utak nila yung learning na in-impart mo sa kanila. So, paano ito? Having them summarize content, then having them generate examples. Pag nakakapagbigay, katulad ng sinasabi ni Sir dati, pag na-isa-summarize ng estudyante yung, for example, isang kwento or isang lesson, nandun yung learning. Makikita mo yung learning doon. O for example, nakakapagbigay siya ng example. Or having them create mind maps or yung sinatawag nating brainstorming. So you provide a topic and then yung mga bubbles lalabas lang sa gilid nito. Then your students you'll be giving some information associated with the topic na binigay mo. So ganun po. So by this magkakaroon tayo ng effective learning and retention ng knowledge ng mga bata. Okay. So now po, malinaw po ba, sir? Pasensya na. Now po, Doc.
Very clear.
Very clear. You, sir. Yes, sir. So, ngayon po, dumako na po tayo sa some ways of doing teaching and learning. So first, we have learning by trial and error. So, sabi dito, learning begins when a person encounters new difficult situation or problem. So, most learning organism encounters errors, and with repeated trials, errors reduces. So, it is now called the trial and error learning. So, some people also call it learning of selection, learning or selection of the successful variant, where no ready-made solution of a problem is available. This learning by trial error was first introduced by Edward Lee Thorndike. So this is related to stimulus response theory, which is also known as the connectionism. So na-introduce na ito by doing an experiment dun sa pusa niya. So ginawa niya yung gutom niyang pusa, nilagay niya sa puzzle box. So in-observe niya yung pusa. Yung pusa na gutom, nilagay niya sa loob ng puzzle box, tapos may pagkain sa labas ng puzzle box. So in-observe niya yung pusa niya kung paano yung ba gagawin ng pusa niya para makalabas doon sa puzzle box. And then, accidentally, na-press nung pusa yung lever, then nakalabas siya dun sa box. And then, nakuha niya yung reward. And then, inulit na naman ito ni Thorndike. para makita talaga, kasi accident lang yung una. So, para makita talaga kung ano ba talaga yung gagawin ulit ng pusa, kung uulitin ba niya yung ginawa, yung sequence na yun. So, after much trial, so, yung pusa successfully press the lever and then naka-escape siya sa box. And then, habang tumatagal, paulit-ulit yung sequence, mas umiiksi na yung time ng pusa na maka-escape doon sa box. So, ayun. This is also considered as the easiest way of doing things. Kasi nga naman, when a person makes mistakes while learning, it improves their memory for the right information. So, alam mo nang mali yung ginawa mo nung una, so hindi mo na yon gagawin ulit. Hahanap ka ng bagong solusyon dun sa problem mo. Sabi din dito, it is risky, time-consuming, and highly dependent on the result. Katulad ng ginawa ni Thorndike na experiment, it really took time for him para makita niya yung result dun sa pusa, dun sa behavior ng pusa. So, the success is due to chance after much trial. Doon sa ginawa niyang experiment, there is a slow, gradual, continuous improvement in performance after successive trials. And then, by doing this, nakita niyo yung result, na nagkaroon ng satisfying result yung pusa. And then, nung inulit niya ulit yung sequence, nung inulit niya ulit yung experiment, naulit-ulit yung behavior ng pusa. Kasi alam niya na by pressing the lever, makakalabas siya. So, nagkaroon ng satisfying result. Kasi nagkaroon ng pairing, na madala frequent pairing yung stimulus at yung response. So, ayun. So, dito rin, nalaman niya na unsatisfying result, pag nagkaroon ng unsatisfying result, the behavior is less likely to be repeated. Yan. Kung i-apply naman po natin ito sa buhay natin, no? For example lang, yung asawa mo nag-ask sa'yo na pakiluto mo naman ako ng ganito, hindi mo naman alam lutuin. So, kumonsulta ka kay YouTube. Then ngayon, dahil first time mo lang lutuin yun, syempre, hindi mo naman makukuha agad perfectly yung lasa ng luto na yon. So, nagkaroon ng unsatisfying result. Hindi masyado nagustuhan ng asawa mo. So, ang result nito, hindi mo na uulitin yung procedure na ginawa mo. So, magsi-search ka ngayon kung ano ba, isi-search mo ngayon kung ano ba, or ano ba yung kulang doon sa niluto mo, o kung paano ba ito may improve. And then, once na okay na, nalaman mo na kung ano yung mga kulang, and then naging okay na yung luto mo, then magkakaroon ng satisfying result, magugustuhan ng asawa mo, and then, your behavior or your manner ng pagluluto is more likely to be repeated. Yan. Yan po. Next po is learning by conditioning. So this is based on Pavlov's classical conditioning theory and Skinner's operant theory. So ano ba yung classical conditioning theory ni Pavlov? So it is a behavioral mechanism in which a biological potent stimulus is paired with a previously neutral stimulus. It is also referred to the learning process that results from this pairing, through which the neutral stimulus comes to elicit a response, which is similar to the one elicited by potent stimulus. So, dito, yung experiment niya, ginawa niya dun sa dog. So, at first, before conditioning, yung food, ang stimulus, at ang response ng aso is yung salivation. And then, pinalitan niya ng bell yung food. So, ang nangyari, hindi nag-response yung dog. And then, during the conditioning, pinatunog niya yung bell, and then, nilabas na yung food. So, ngayon, nag-salivate yung dog. So, after several repetition, so, na-condition na sa utak ng aso na pag tumunog yung bell, kakain na siya. So, ang naging potent stimulus dati ang potent stimulus mo na ay yung food. Ngayon, ang naging stimulus na ng dog is yung bell. Dating maririnig na yung bell, ibig sabihin, kakain na siya. So, yun. Para kung i-apply naman natin to sa loob ng classroom, for example, as a teacher, pagpasok mo ng classroom mo, ang ingay ng mga estudyante mo. Sinabi mo sa estudyante mo na, class, be quiet. So, tumahimik yung estudyante mo. And then, nag-ingay na naman sila. Tapos, pumalakpak ka. Hindi sila tumahimik. And then, ang ginawa mo ngayon, pumalakpak ka, and then sinabi mo na, class, be quiet. Ayan, tumahimik na sila. So, after several repetition, so, makukondisyon ang utak ng mga bata na pag pumalakpak ka, hindi mo na kailangan sabihin na, class, be quiet. They will automatically keep quiet kasi pumalakpak ka na. Ibig sabihin nun, ang kasunod na kasi nasasabihin mo nun is, class, be quiet. So, yun yung tinatawag natin na conditioning. Ano na yung utak ng mga bata, naka-condition na yung utak ng mga bata. Yung behavior nila. Na-train na sila na pag pumalakpak ka, tatahimik na sila. Yun po. Malinaw po. Next
Yes.
po. Opo, thank you, sir. Next po, yung ano naman yung operant conditioning. Ang operant conditioning naman is a method of learning that employs rewards and punishment for behavior, for a certain behavior. It is more on students' behavioral management. The simple way to shape behavior is to provide feedback on learners' performance. So, si Skinner, gumawa siya ng Skinner box or conditioning chamber, which was designed to teach rats how to push a lever. This behavior is not natural to rats. So, operant conditioning with positive and negative reinforcement were performed in order to teach the behavior. So, ang nangyari, a rat was awarded with food when he pressed the lever. So, nagkaroon ng positive reinforcement. And then, he added electric shock. A rat was able to turn off electric shock produced by the floor by pressing the lever, which is the negative reinforcement. So, naano naman ng bata na nag-add si Skinner ng negative reinforcement, yung electric shock. So, ang naging result nito, yung rat is, para mawala yung electric shock na yun, press na yung lever. Kumbaga, sa mga bata naman, sa mga estudyante, paano ba natin apply ito? For positive reinforcement, we add something valuable or desirable. For example, yung estudyante mo yung anak mo nakakuha ng magandang grades sa school, and then binilan mo siya ng chocolate or ng laruan bilang reward niya. So the chocolate or the toy is something valuable or desirable for the child. So this is what we call positive reinforcement. So ano naman yung negative reinforcement? It is avoiding something unpleasant. So katulad dun sa rat, para ma-avoid niya yung electric shock, pinapress niya yung button. So sa bata naman, for example, para hindi ka mapagalitan ng teacher mo dahil late ka, para hindi ka alam mo, papagalitan ka ng teacher mo pag na-late ka. Kaya ginagawa mo, pumapasok ka ng maaga. So, yun. Next po is punishment. We have positive punishment. Ano ba ito? It is adding something unpleasant naman. For example, sa school, yung bata nag-misbehave. So, the teacher, as positive punishment, ay pinasulat niya yung bata ng ng pangalan niya sa isang loompad. So, pupunuin mo yan, sabi ng teacher. So, in this kind of punishment, para the next time, hindi na uulitin ng bata yung ginawa niya, yung pag-misbehave. Kasi alam niya, the next time na gawin ulit niya yun, papasulatin na naman siya ng teacher sa longpad ng pangalan niya, na pupunuin niya. Yun. Next po is the negative punishment. Ito naman po yung removing something valued or desired. So, dito naman, kung sa positive reinforcement, we have adding something valuable or desirable. Ito naman, we will remove something which is valued or desirable para sa bata. For example, ngayon, ang mga bata is sobrang addict sa cellphone. So, dahil kinuha mo yung cellphone kasi hindi siya kumain ng gulay. Parang ganyan. Kinuha mo yung cellphone kasi hindi niya sinunod yung gusto mo. So, yun yung yung cellphone is yung valuable or desirable object or thing para sa kanila. So, kinuha mo ito. So, yun nandun na yung negative punishment. So, ayun. Okay po. Next po is learning by insight. So, this learning utilizes a higher level of intelligence through deep reflection. Example of this is when a student has an aha or epiphany or eureka moment after reviewing her lesson or after the solution to a problem presents itself. Di ba, for sure, no, na-experience natin ito, hindi lang tayo aware na learning by insight pala yung nangyayari sa atin. Na pag bigla na lang may problema, tapos bigla ka makaka-come up ng solution. Na, ganito lang pala. Alam ko na. Tapos, yung may mga ganun tayong reaction. So, example na lang dito dun sa husband ko. Kasi dito sa bahay namin, nabara yung tubo sa lababo namin. So, kasi nakabaon siya sa lupa. So, hindi namin alam kung paano kukunin maaalis yung bara doon. So, yung husband ko, nag-isip siya, talagang nag-deep reflect siya, yung inisip niya talaga kung paano nga ba. So, naisip niya na meron kaming compressor. So, through the pressure na hangin nagmumula sa compressor, yun yung ginamit niya para ma-push away or outside the tubo yung nakaklag doon sa namin, sa lababo or doon sa tubo na nakabaon sa lupa. So, ayun, sa pamamagitan, meron palang insight o learning by insight na nangyayari. O for example na lang, yung isang bata, yung pamangkin ko kasi nung 2 years old pa lang siya, pupunta siya dito and then meron siyang kukunin sa lababo na hindi niya kayang abutin. So, ang ginawa niya, nagulat na lang ako, bigla na lang siyang kumuha ng upuan, tapos tumungtong siya doon. Wala namang nagtuturo sa kanya. So, dun pala mapasok yung learning by insight ng mga bata. So, ito hindi natin alam na nangyayari ito talaga. Kung iisipin mo lang talaga, nangyayari talaga ito sa totoong buhay, sa araw-araw na pamumuhay natin. Hindi lang talaga tayo aware. So, ayun. Okay. So, may question po. Pag may question po, andyan po si Sir Jeff.
Are you done?
Yes, sir. Ito pa po. Last na lang.
Sige. Actually, malinaw siya.
Po. At ito nga rin palang learning by insight na to. Ito yung tinatawag natin na yung out of the box thinking. Yun, ito nga pala yun, yung out of the box thinking. Bigla na lang pong nag-pop up. Yung bigla na lang magkakaroon ka ng solution, instant solution to your problem. Okay. So, ito na lang po. Yan. So, finally po to end this presentation on a positive note, let me read po to you a quote from Mr. Brian Herbert. Sabi niya, the capacity to learn is a gift, the ability to learn is a skill, and the willingness to learn is a choice. So, to reflect po this quote to my presentation, Dr. Gagne has emphasized this capacity, no? That is the innate curiosity of our learners, where learning can be initiated. So, as future or aspiring educators, we have the responsibility to facilitate and enable our learners' ability to learn by instilling in them the various skills or techniques to acquire and process and utilize what they have learned. So now, their capacity and ability to learn, no matter how great it is, will not prosper if the learners themselves do not possess the willingness to learn. So, as presenter po for today, this is my take-home points. Yes, yun lang po. Thank you very much.
Wow, it's inspirational quote, no? At the end of the presentation of Miss Plus. So aside from having a clear presentation, no, at the end, no, there is a reflection quote, no, as a challenge for us as learners and future teachers, no. Tama naman yun, no. So it is the willingness of the mind, no, to learn. So basically, we have a powerful means to invite, no, our learners, no, to learn. Basically, it is a gift, no, the capacity to learn, gift yan, pero kailangan meron tayong guidance as teachers. Okay, so I am pretty sure that everything is well done by Miss Blas, starting with the different events of learning. She cited about the different events, no, by Robert Gang. Then she made clarification about the ways of doing teaching and learning. In particular, there are three things that she mentioned. The learning by trial and error, we have the learning by conditioning, and learning by insight. So let us try to elaborate the ways of doing learning and teaching and learning. So this is in accordance with the different theories of learning that you have learned from child and adolescent psychology. Learning by trial and error, which in particular giving emphasis on stimulus response theory, no? Lagi nating naririnig 'yon, reaction and action. So ibig pong sabihin, so what stimulus we gave will correspond to a certain response. So in other words, as we teach, we are making sure that what we give to our learners are crucial, are important, kasi it is really risky kung ang bibigay natin sa kanilang mga tawag dito, instruction is unclear, simply, which will definitely give an inappropriate response or negative result. So ibig sabihin, result is correct or satisfying either, or even pwedeng maging negative kung siya ay the reaction is wrong. So parang it is dependent on the stimulus na ibibigay natin. So we do trial and error in that case. Also learning by conditioning. So I might say that this is how will you engage learners to learn by conditioning. So ang binanggit niya dito, if I'm not mistaken, has something to do with parang anong binigay niya dito, instruction, parang instruction din, ano. I can give some examples of learning by conditioning. So tama naman kung they are repeatedly do the actions, so eventually or gradually na-store sa mind nila yon that this should be the right thing to do. For instance, yung mga activities, no, during face-to-face instruction, one of the kind that I have to consider, automatic na ang learners, they will be sitting to the designated seats that they are asked to be seated. So at the start of the school year, you have to establish the rules and regulations inside your classroom. So the learning by conditioning is there. Once you establish those rules and regulation inside your class, they are conditioned to follow. Kasi pag di mo na-establish yan as beginner teacher at the very start of your instruction, I assure you, may hirapan ka bilang isang guro or bilang isang advisor. So you have to set the rules and regulations inside the class. Aside from having known that this kind of activities are connected to classroom management. So learning is there because you have considered that rules, and upon entering your classroom, they are conditioned to be seated on the proper seats, no? Lalo na yung kung wala kang proper seating arrangement. Ako ang ginagawa ko, alternate ng boys and girls, no, when it comes to that. Okay. Then the other one, so this is learning by insight. So I adopt what she said. Tama naman. So learning out, kumbaga beyond the box. Kaya nga insight, there is a reflection. So learning is through reflection. Meron tayong reflective learning activities na wherein there is an exercise of deeper thinking with regards to the objectives of the lesson, or simply the activities that we want our learners to perform. So, beyond, ibig sabihin, hindi lang siya naka-context dun sa content, but they can perform beyond, no? Beyond those contents. So, deeper thinking and insights or reflection. Okay, so I think we're good enough to deal with the 3 activities that are scheduled for today. For the next, any questions so far?
None po.
Wala.
Okay. So, if everything is clear, on next Saturday, again, we are expecting for activities 16, 17, and 18. No? And then the last 2 will be the other Saturday. Siguro tatlo ulit tayo, 16, 17, 18. Sino yung 16 po? Let me just check.
Sir, ako po. Si Nerissa
Okay,
po.
Nerissa.
Tapos si Sir Elmar po. Yung next.
17.
Si Sir Elmar po.
Yung 18.
Opo yung
Ayan. Okay. So, be ready on next Saturday po. Okay. So, at this point, siguro, cognitive overload na rin lahat. So, ayun, Julie Borja, nagtatanong po.
sir, sinabi ko
Hindi,
na po ako
nag-raise. Nag-raise ka lang ng, ano. Are you related to, Oliver Borja? Hindi.
Dito ko po ayun.
Tito. Nagtuturo ka na ba? Hindi pa. Ala ka sa division. Okay, sige. Alright, so you are motivated, na magturo talaga. Okay, so, siguro, let's end our virtual class with a productive day. So, thank you so much for listening. God bless and keep safe, everyone. See you on next Saturday.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you po.
Bye-bye
Apo,
po.
welcome. God
Thank you po.
bless.
Yes, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Bye po.
Welcome. Opo.
Bye, sir. Bye. Thank you.
Bye po.